You're watching the Home and Travel Channel on BYL Network.
My name is Bruce Zipes. I was born and raised in New York and started learning how to bake with my father at the tender age of 7 years old. Over the past 30 years, I have been the president of Bruce's Restaurant and Bakery. I'm also the author of the best-selling book, Bruce's Bake It to the Stars. I have been recognized as one of the best bakery chefs in New York, Boca Raton, and now around the world. I have spent decades building a sterling reputation among internationally renowned entertainers, athletes, and politicians alike. These celebrities include Hillary Clinton, Christie Brinkley, Cindy Crawford, Kathie Lee Gifford, Bob Hope, Matt Lauer, Jay Leno, Mickey Mantle, Rosie O'Donnell, and Howard Stern, just to name a few. And now I will make my famous recipes available to you. Today we are making my famous mile-high apple pie. Here's what you're going to need. Okay, we start off making the mile-high apple pie. The first thing to do is we got to make our crust. Now the thing is, when you make your crust, it's got to come out flaky when you bake it. And I'm going to show you how to conquer that trick. 2.5 ounces of milk powder. Put it right in there. 1.5 ounces of sugar. 1 ounce of salt. Okay, we're just going to mix that up just a little bit. Okay, just get it together. Now we're going to stop the machine and we're going to pick that up and we're going to put in our flour. This is cake flour, all right? This is what you have to use, not high gluten. We're going to add our flour. Okay, now we add our flour, put the machine back. Okay, we're going to go just combine this. Now you're going to combine all your dry ingredients, okay? Now, get that going a little faster speed. All your dry ingredients are incorporating together. What you do now is you got 1.5 pounds of cold butter. The butter has to be cold, all right? Otherwise the dough won't flake up. And you put it in slowly. You add it slowly, okay, as the mix is going. Now when it starts to pedal up, you'll see little lumps, right? And those lumps are going to create your flakiness in the dough. And then you start adding your cold water. Now you add the cold water slowly until you get a dough, until it becomes a dough. See, it's starting to come together? See how it's starting to turn into a dough? Okay, we're almost there. You take it off the paddle, like so. Make sure you got all your ingredients and your dough off the paddle. And you take the paddle out, and now you have your dough. You put some flour on the table. See, you just take it out like this. You keep making a little bit more. You gotta. Okay, let's see. Nice little log going on here. Okay. This is going to be the dough. Now the heart of this pie, the Mile High apple pie from Bruce's, is the apples, of course, and the filling. Now, when you see how I put this together, you're going to have the most wonderful flavors. Okay, we use 3 types of apples. We use the Fuji apples, we use the Granny Smith, and we use the Macintosh. Now, these are all hard, firm apples. They're not soft, okay? And mix your apples together. Okay, now, you're gonna add flour. The reason you're gonna put flour in here is to bind the filling. Okay, so the filling doesn't just ooze out of the pie. It stays solid. So you gotta put your flour in. Okay, now you go with a cup of sugar. Okay, a half a cup of brown sugar, teaspoon of salt. Don't forget the salt. Everybody always forgets the salt. Believe it or not, salt brings out the sweetness in a cake. Little cinnamon, sugar, all right? And now, always finish it off with the vanilla flavor. Not too much, just like a cap and a half. Okay, now we're gonna squeeze some lemons right over it. Now the lemons keep the apple from going brown. It gives it more color, and it doesn't turn right away. So you squeeze about lemon and a half. Okay. Now, I always do one thing more, like a small handful of melted apricot jam. Okay? Now we mix it all together. And then we're gonna have our filling. The last step, okay. Make sure it's mixed thoroughly. When you mix, make sure you go from the bottom to the top. This way, the flour doesn't just stay at the bottom. You're mixing it all the way. Now lastly, we're gonna add the melted butter. Okay, and you move the apples as you're adding the butter. Okay, there's your melted butter. And your apple pie filling is ready to go into the shell. See how you build it up towards the middle? That's why they call it the mile high. The messier, the better. Okay, don't be afraid to make a mess, because all that good flavor and juices are in those apples. Now we're gonna put some flour on your bench so the dough doesn't stick. Okay, it's very important. You put a little flour on top, and on your rolling pin, just keep a little flour on the rolling pin so the pin doesn't stick to the dough. Okay, now we're gonna roll it out. This is the top for the pie. Try to get it evenly rolled out. It shouldn't be thick and thin. It should be the same thickness everywhere. Now you're gonna fold the dough in half, very carefully putting it over the pie. Okay? Then you're gonna trim the pie. Take off the excess dough. Beautiful. And you're gonna have this is most important, because when you bake it, you wanna let the steam out so the dough doesn't crack. So you make sure you got your holes in there. Okay, these holes let the steam out. Okay, now you're gonna take egg wash. Okay, you're gonna gently wash the pie with your egg wash. All right, and then you're gonna take granulated sugar, or you could use coarse sugar, and you sprinkle it over the pie like so, and you're ready to bake. Place in oven at about 375 degrees for roughly 40 to 50 minutes, or until golden brown. Thanks for watching Breakfast at Bruce's. Stay tuned each week for another secret recipe and a chance to win breakfast with me and receive a $100 gift certificate.